What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Rezolve AI. I want to go over some of the data points, what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Rezolve, at the time of doing this video, is down 2.8%, largely just piggybacking off of the broader market's fears. And that's just because of increased tensions between China and the States. So during the overnight, China did vow to fight trade war to the end. And this is no different than what happened back in April. But luckily enough, Trump made a deal, even though the states backed off. So I think China does mean business. This is why we are seeing a little bit of a pullback. Although from the intraday lows, the market seems to be buying the dip in many cases. So Rezolve, 518 the low, 539 the high, but we are seeing very low volume. So 3.1 million shares being traded, 27.9 is the average. Surprisingly enough, Rezolve has not put out any news today, which is very odd for them. They did put out 2 PRs on Friday, so maybe that's just their quota or whatever else. But I did a video midway throughout Friday talking about this one, and so them talking about minimal dilution and stuff like that, which in my video, I wasn't necessarily the most optimistic because there's just been a lot of red flags that I haven't really liked. And I guess based on my previous experience with other stocks that do these types of PR blitzes, it's not for good intention. And some people do disagree with me on that. And so I kind of just did this quickly. So I asked AI why a company would be doing PR blitzes, and ultimately kind of narrows it down to 4 things. So pump and dump behavior, distraction from fundamentals, stock promotion deals, or to justify stock issuance or warrants. So it's not 3 or 4. Possibly it could be number 1. Like I said, I think they caught on that they can get algos to really start buying up Rezolve up until kind of opportunity cost and just algos stop caring. So it could be just a number 1. This is why Rezolve did move higher. But of course, I do have just my concerns over that. I do really like the company though. Management, just if they fixed a lot of these kind of finite issues that I have, then I feel like it would be a little bit more of a stronger buy in my opinion. But other than no news for today, they did put out this after hours on Friday. So Rezolve AI PLC announces shareholder transfer to a new global institutional investor. And so it looks like the estate of John Wagner, they're moving about 20% of the holdings of Rezolve stock, about 10.6 million to from DBLP 𝗖𝗎𝗡 Limited. So interesting kind of name for that, but they are moving it out. And for estate purposes, that is kind of normal. So it looks like from SEC filings, they did move it right over here. And so they did move it to Alliance Global Partners. So they're acting as more of a intermediary. So they're going to be the ones kind of selling the stock off. And this is exactly what ultimately said right here in the SEC filings. So nothing really crazy if you ask me. If it wasn't for estate purposes, then I'd be rather concerned, but this seems to be relatively a-okay. When it comes down to it, the timing of their PR, clearly Rezolve was trying to lessen the blow. And the reason why, anytime, any stock, you see something placed and submitted after hours on Friday, that ultimately isn't that great. So this is 100% proof that Rezolve is very self-aware of what news does to their stock price. So they're trying their very best to kind of keep it positive. So that's maybe a positive thing. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys to make that determination. The only other thing that kind of came out, which was posted today, was a new rating. And I already wasn't that big of a fan of a lot of the institutions that cover Rezolve, such as Northland and Roth MKM. But you did have this analyst downgrade Rezolve, nothing significant, but from 1250 to 1240. Shocker, this is crazy. So you see a lot of BS analysts such as this right here, because they want to be top. They want to be number 1, the most latest rating, and so that way people see it. So it's their own self-marketing, if you ask me. So a lot of these institutions actually do that. Cantor Fitzgerald on Lucid, they re-rate themselves almost every single about 4 days, every week, give or take. So I'm not really too worried about this rating for them to change it from 1250 to 1240 is just kind of comical if you ask me. But aside from all of that fun stuff, at the time of doing this video, shorts are increasing 627,000 shares, 10.35% of the free float is being shorted, versus to be 16.12 million shares overall are being shorted. And actually, speaking of shorts, so my last video, as I mentioned, wasn't necessarily the most optimistic, and this is my problem with, I guess, like retail investors. They don't like to hear negatives. And I'm not here to get you guys to sell. I'm not here to get you guys to buy or anything. All I'm doing is interpreting the data. And instantly, some people jump to, hey, you're shorting. Hey, you have puts. Just for clarity, I think people, before they comment, they need to actually realize what type of option contract I had. So I sold puts. So there's a big difference between buying and selling puts. So if you do like a stock, even outside of Rezolve, sell puts, because it gets you premiums and you get to buy it at the stock at the price you want. So over the weekend, I did get about, I think it's 800 new shares of Rezolve at a price of $5.50 because I sold a $5.50 put. I got some premium. At the time, it was at like $6.20. So this is why I like to sell puts on stocks. So I have no short position. All I'm doing is interpreting the data. If you guys completely disagree with me, that is fine. I wish Rezolve to go to $15, $20, $30 from here, and I'd be very wrong. But I wouldn't feel right, in my opinion, if I didn't actually kind of mention my concerns. And it's funny, there's always these people that fight back. Just to give you a couple other stocks that do PR blitzes, you have Faraday Future. Look at this over the last 1 year, over the last 5 years. I've been covering them way back over here, been calling out their BS, and I've been saying, hey, you know what? This is like rest in peace. So again, yes, it is painful to hear that there is red flags, but some of which are validated. And here's another one that people always fight me about. This stock just in the last year is down 97.76%, and then over the last 5 years, just absolutely like horrible. So there is a lot of validity to my concerns about any stock doing PR blitzes. So not saying Rezolve is fraudulent or anything, but clearly they are self-aware of news and PRs and trying to get algos on their side. So just wanted to kind of explain that I'm not shorting. I don't have any long puts, so I'm not against Rezolve. I'm just bringing up my concerns. You guys, if you don't want to don't pay attention, so be it. But looking at the options, 172,000 in calls, 8,400 in puts, 42% of all the options being done today are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of around that $6 range by the end of this week. Bears, not really much going on. Anticipated for it to be sub 5, but very low volume, unfortunately. But at the time doing this video, 2 transactions on the secondary market, both are buys. So big money is somewhat buying Rezolve. Of course, algos are really suppressing Rezolve and much of the greater market because of that increase in tension from China. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool above $100,000. So a lot of this is linked to just hedge funds as well as shorts. And with shorts being fairly active, I'm sure a lot of this is linked to them. Right now with it at 528.29, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So during the overnight, it was kind of flirting with this pivot point of that 576. Unfortunately, it didn't really have enough to get above that. And plus, like I said, with all the fear, it kind of brought it down. So 499 is going to be that next strong support. And most likely that's going to be the next kind of point generally that we might be going. So logically, I could see us bouncing off of that and really trending higher. But at the end of the day, the company needs to put out something concrete. And I know that sounds weird because they put out a lot of good news, somewhat. I still feel that they can consolidate that to one big update a week, but they need something to actually show real revenue immediately. A lot of their news is good. It's building a strong foundation, but it's going to be stuff that is realized in 2026, 27, and so forth, and is largely dependent on the success of cryptocurrency. So over this past weekend, things didn't really, it was kind of an interesting week for cryptocurrency, this past one. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But right now, with it where it is below that 10-day moving average, so it shows that momentum isn't really on the table. Next strong point is going to be that 485, or 487. That's that 50-day moving average. Nothing really crazy coming out for any news. So the only thing that came out lately was just that rating change from 1250 to 1240. So crazy shocker. But you can kind of see right here, this is where algos are taking a massive amount of the volume today. But looking at the market position for today, you see a strong amount of buyers up until that 505, and then it just drops. So hopefully, given the circumstances, this is just a one-off type of fear in the broader market and it doesn't escalate, because if it does break below that, then most likely you'll see it kind of drop between that 50 and 100-day moving average. So that wouldn't necessarily be the best. So let me know your thoughts on Rezolve. Are you buying? Are you selling? Do you think that a lot of my concerns are just too far-fetched and it's not really like justified? Or what's your kind of 2 cents on everything? And yeah, hopefully everyone had a good weekend. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.